It is 1:30 Universal Time. I'm John Dryden in Washington. A new recorded message that claims to be from Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden was released Tuesday on the Internet. The speaker says jailed terrorist Zacarias Moussaoui was not involved with attacks on the United States on September 11, 2001. He also claims Moussaoui had admitted guilt because he had spent more than 4 years in a United States prison. Experts have not yet confirmed if the voice belongs to the Al-Qaeda leader. A jury sentenced Moussaoui to life in prison earlier this month. He was charged with at least one death for not telling officials about the planned attacks. The new message also says many prisoners held at the American naval base in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, have no links to Al-Qaeda. President Bush says the Israeli Prime Minister's plan to reestablish the borders of the Jewish state could lead to a two-state answer to the conflict between Israel and the Palestinian Authority. Mr. Bush spoke in a joint press conference with Ehud Olmert at the White House. He also said the best path to peace remains a negotiated agreement. He urged Israel to reach out to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. Mr. Olmert said he extends his hand in peace to Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and hopes to meet with him soon. But he said the rise of the Hamas-led Palestinian government has made the peace process more difficult. Iraqi police say a bomb explosion killed at least 11 people near a Shiite religious center in Baghdad. At least 7 others were wounded. Hours earlier, 5 people were killed when a car carrying a bomb exploded in the Sadr city of Baghdad. Other attacks across Iraq killed 18 other Iraqis Tuesday. The violence comes one day after Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki met with British Prime Minister Tony Blair. Mr. Maliki said Iraqi forces will take control of security in most of Iraq by the end of this year. Mexican President Vicente Fox has arrived in the western state of Utah. It is the first stop of his trip to the United States to discuss immigration and other issues. Mr. Fox will also visit the western states of Washington and California during his 3-day trip. Mr. Fox's visit comes as the United States Senate considers legislation this week to increase security on the border with Mexico. The lawmakers are also considering ways to help illegal immigrants already in the United States to become citizens. The World Health Organization says it is possible that the bird flu virus has been passed between humans in Indonesia. The WHO said the deaths of 6 Indonesian family members from bird flu could be linked to direct contact with a severely sick patient. The health organization says it will also investigate other ways the family members might have been infected with the H5N1 virus. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. Amnesty International has accused the United States and other countries of using the war against terrorism as a reason to violate human rights. The rights group is criticizing what it calls the failed promises of powerful countries like the United States, Britain, Russia, and China. The head of the group criticized the United States for jailing suspected terrorists for long periods at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. A Bush administration official said the United States has been honest in its attempts to guarantee human rights at Guantanamo and other areas. Amnesty International also expressed concern about the conflict in Darfur, Sudan. It criticized China and Russia for protecting their economic interests in Sudan. The group also said too many national leaders have failed to criticize human rights violations in Darfur, Chechnya, and other areas. The United Nations and the African Union are urging Sudan to let UN peacekeeping troops into the Darfur area. A UN spokesman said Secretary General Kofi Annan called Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir on Monday. Two other UN officials discussed the peacekeeping issue during talks with Sudanese officials in Khartoum Tuesday. The UN officials will meet this week with President Omar al-Bashir. In London, an African Union official said UN peacekeepers should be deployed within 2 months. The Security Council has called for the UN to take control of peacekeeping duties in Darfur from an African Union force. A new report by the American Department of Defense says Chinese military spending could be a threat to other Asian nations. The report urges China to explain its military expansion. It also says the speed with which China is expanding its military forces seems to show China is thinking of military issues with nations other than Taiwan. China has threatened to use military force if Taiwan declares independence. The report said China has more than 700 short-distance missiles near Taiwan. The report also said that China has bought military equipment that could be used against other nations. China has also taken steps to buy Russian-made ships and attack planes over the past year. The 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council and Germany will meet Wednesday in London to discuss Iran's nuclear program. Officials are expected to discuss in detail European proposals for trade and technology aid for Iran. In exchange, they want Iran to end its enrichment work with the element uranium. Germany, France, and Britain proposed the plan last week. Iran has dismissed the offer. Briefly, here again is the major news of the hour. A new recorded message that claims to be from al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden was released Tuesday on the Internet. President Bush says the Israeli Prime Minister's plan to redraw the borders of the Jewish state could lead to a 2-state answer to the conflict between Israel and the Palestinian Authority. And Iraqi police say a bomb attack has killed at least 11 people near a Shiite Islamic center in Baghdad. And that is the news in VOA